Good evening. You're listening live to the Xtreme Movie Show. Tonight's episode is our movie reviews. We are going to be reviewing Professor Pixel, RDV, and myself, your host Rob, here from the Xtreme Movie Show. The Army of the Dead, the Zack Snyder special, or the Zack Snyder crap sandwich. We're going to debate that. For the record, I'm not familiar with Zack Snyder. I don't really watch a lot of Marvel DC type films. That's why RDV and Professor Pixel, who know a lot about this stuff, are joining me tonight because they offer their own interesting insight to it. I want to get our quick initial takes going around the room here, guys, and as people join in our live stream, we'll get down to some specifics supporting those positions. I'm actually going to go last. Professor Pixel, we only briefly talked backstage. I think you're in the minority here in that you felt somewhat positive about this. So let us know that it was a good film briefly and why it was.
Yeah, no, I liked it. I felt like it had a good balance because I remember whenever we were talking about this movie coming out, one of the things that we were worried about was smart zombies, how they're executed, because We've had a variation of, I guess, smart hybrid zombies in World War Z where they were moving like a wave.
Mm-hmm.
But in this movie, I felt like it had a good balance between normal zombies and then the main super zombie, I guess you could call him.
His name is Zeus.
Yeah, they call him Zeus.
The Alpha.
Yes. The Alpha zombie, I felt like there was a good balance between that. And there's enough human element that it's not just pure action 24/7 and that's all you're watching this film for. That the characters are built upon. They have what they're there for and their goals. And then we get led into the end.
Okay. I'll come to that point here in a moment, too, because obviously that's a bright spot, the balance of having the human element versus the zombie stuff. So that's an interesting take. RDV, what's your brief overall view of the film?
It's a movie. It just proves that I would say it's more of a letdown because how predictable it was. I'll admit, going into the movie, I had a chip on my shoulder because the fact I don't like having intelligent zombies. It just defeats purpose. Make them a vampire if you want to have them intelligent. You know? Because zombies are pretty much just all they want is brains. You know? Well-fed. Now, I'll say this, though. I've seen it in cases where, like Z Nation, where a well-fed zombie can be intelligent. Because it's not, if it's just turned and it's, and it's still, intact and it has a fresh supply of what it needs, then maybe yes, you could have that. But this, just felt like it felt like you was watching what is that movie? And it's a South American movie where they're peacekeepers. They're gonna go there and they end up being taken hostage by this tribe.
Pretty much. The Green Inferno?
Yes.
That was funny.
This kind of felt like this, but instead of going to Green Inferno, they're going in there maybe they're going there just to steal, they'll steal their stuff,
I'm going to play the guy in between in the tiebreaker, and I'm going to side with you, RDV, and say this movie was a disappointment, and that's why I didn't like it. I wanted to be entertained. I wanted to like it, and I feel really let down because I thought there were some fantastic elements in here. And I'll agree with you, Pixel, in that there were human elements in here, where I'm going to disagree is that I think the human elements were the absolute worst part of this film, and it's disappointing to me to say that the humans are the worst part of the film, whereas the zombie stuff I thought would have been excellent. So, like I say, as people start filing in here, let's start just kind of talking a little bit about some of these scenes and use it to illustrate our points. For me, starting off, I will admit to you two guys, so maybe you can add some commentary about this. Again, I don't particularly care for comic book films or heroes. I find them unrelatable because they need something supernatural or magical to help them out, and I get it's about the story, but I want to feel sometimes you can relate to a character. That's where I think this movie kind of failed because there was no reason to really like any of them. None of them really stood out except the helicopter female pilot. I thought she could have been good, but what really made me go uh-oh was when this movie started. It started off, to me, awesome. It felt like an adult movie. It felt like it was shot really well. And that's the one thing I will say positive about this film. I liked a lot of the scenes, except for the really bad CGI ones and the green screens. But there's a lot of natural light. They're driving. You see the married couple. You see the accident that happens. And when all that went and took place, I was like, hell yeah. Then there's that one, I'm going to call it what it is, I think, a comic book scene where they have the camera pan up on the guy and it's looking at downtown LA at night. I'm like, oh, this is fantastic. This is a great way to suck me in. What a wonderful opening gambit. Then the problems started. If you're going to do Las Vegas, you do not have Mr. Richard Cheese singing songs. I want to hear Elvis singing his songs. I don't want other people's renditions. Yes, I know it's a Vegas thing to go, hey, I'm going to talk and sing like this, and I don't give a rat's ass. It felt like after a really strong opening, mature shot, they went for the comedy shtick. And while I really was intrigued by the concept of the movie, having this heist movie, if you will, the heist was stupid. It made no sense. Yes, everything was predictable. I'll even give that a pass. But Bautista rounding up his crew, and then while that's supposed to be okay, it was at best. The thing that made the human element really, really bad, that's what I wanted to kind of bring up first, was the fact that his daughter's like, well, if you don't take me with you, I'm just going to sneak in her and I'll probably die. And he was like, okay. And then he's like, okay, everybody, I guess we got to take her. Was the absolutely stupidest, dumbest, worst thing in this film having to do with the people. And then it just got dumber. So while the first third of the movie was engaging at times and there were some interesting ideas, it totally falls off a cliff when we get into the second and third act. So Pix, let me go to you here first. You mentioned the human element being really good. Do you agree or disagree with what I was saying there about his daughter or whatever coming in?
Well, I mean, she says what I would have expected. I mean, she would have snuck in afterwards after this one woman, which I did think was a stupid move on her part. But sometimes youth doesn't help with how they're thinking. I think she should have just stayed behind. She should have gone ahead and gone. There was no way this woman survived. Turns out later on that she is in fact alive, being saved by the alpha to be bit later. Mm-hmm. They have a stockpile.
Yeah. You don't think that made Bautista's character look weak because he really gave in? Because it sounds like to me in this whole, that's what he lets everybody make the decision. And he's like, okay, guys, let's do this. He's never draws a line in the sand and makes a stand for anything.
Okay, but even if he had said, no, you're not going, that's period, she would have snuck in anyway. It would have been over. Thus, it would have been thrown in.
Sneak off in them. I mean, that to me, I would like that. I didn't like the way this is handled. It was too easy.
I mean, he wants to protect her. That's his goal. He wants to protect her because she's going to go in there no matter what. It would be better if she was there with him than her going in on her own.
While that may be true, what it looked like and came across to me, and we'll get RDV's opinion here in a second, is that she, she's like the spoiled little child in the grocery aisle that throws a fit and just sits down on the ground and holds her breath till her face turns blue to get what she wants, and he capitulates. And again, it makes him look weak, especially early on. It makes us not like her, so we don't really care about her or her situation or why she's going in there. That was the best scene for her would be a little bit later, but to me, I'm looking at this going, really? And why do I care about him with being the decision maker or her? Because we saw a flashback in her, which was done, I thought, pretty well, with him having to kill his wife, which is her mom, and it makes sense, but it didn't work for me there at all. And RDV, I don't know, how did you feel about that, her as the character and him having to protect her and all that? Did it add to it or take it away?
Well, I'm gonna go take it a step even further. I'm gonna say probably the worst character in the whole entire movie was Gita. She has 2 kids, and you know what? She wants to make money, go in there and get money so she can, take care of them. But the thing is that she's so stupid to realize that at least if you don't have the money, you're still with them. So her going in there, it was ignorant of everything, just going in there and leaving her kids. Because if she dies, then they have nothing. They don't even have her. So that really irritated me the most. The fact that Kate went in there, Kate should have stayed back and take care of her kids, realizing there's a great chance that she's dead. Her going in there trying to find her would just get her killed too. But nope, they had to have her go in there. It was a stupid written plot to have her go in there. I gotta go in there and go after this girl because I know Daddy's gonna come in and save me. And it cost Dave Bautista his life at the end because that's what it is. You can't have a happy ending because he's reconciled with her, all that stuff. It was just atrocious. But
there's an old expression in sports that says the best ability a player can have is availability, and I agree with you to that point that it didn't really make sense to it. But we talk about right now some of the character things, what we liked and didn't like. Pixel, I wanted to come back to you and say, when you do a heist movie, yes, you get characters that you may have some more affinity for than others, and so we get them kind of all meeting and having their backstory. I want to ask you this specifically, Pixel. The whole scene at the end where I think it's the mechanic, she's like, I came here because of you, because I really care, and I just thought that blah, 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 when they didn't even hint at them having maybe a relationship or show one getting rekindled along the way. It seemed like it was an absolutely horribly forced romantic angle just to extend out the timepiece. That's how I'm interpreting it. What say you?
I definitely feel that you could feel there was a bond between them from past experiences. Was it exactly romantic? I don't know about that. You could tell she clearly didn't want the daughter getting in there distracting him, and I guess that could play towards that because she doesn't want his mind just solely on her when they need to be pushing forward through this. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't matter because right after that's the scene when the elevator opens and she turns around, a zombie grabs her head and just turns it around.
And so you said, I had no problem with Maria Cruz in her. I mean, she's probably the most likable character out of all of them. Because like I said, she's only there because for Bautista's character, Scott Ward, because they bonded and she had moved on. He approached her. She only went there because he brought up old feelings. She had moved on, and like I said, I didn't cringe at her parts. Everyone else pretty much had their own cringes. And I just like Garrett Dillahunt cannot get a break. He got killed off by The Walking Dead by a kid, pointless death. Having here play the bad guy to get mauled by the tiger. He's only here to get mauled by the tiger because they want the tiger to kill somebody. That's why there's a zombie tiger in here. The zombie tiger was stupid. It should not have been in the movie, but there's you know what? We're going to throw a giant zombie tiger in here and have a mom. The zombie tiger
was cool.
Oh, it was just in there for stupid.
Let's bring this up right here and now because I agree with RDV. While it may have looked cool, that's the whole issue I'm having here, Pixel. It's not even the human element, which should be, in my opinion, the most important in this movie. It failed spectacularly. What are we trying to do here for a film? You have a strong opening. It's adult. It's almost mature-like in that sense. We don't know how exactly all their zombies are going to be yet, although I'll mention the way they are, I think, supposed to be positive, the way I'm going to describe them. But this movie went back and forth between giving us almost a good look at something and at the heist angle idea of them grinding people up to do a job, even though it doesn't make any sense at all with the Tojimura light character guy in here. It's kind of dumb and stupid, even if we give that pass because it's supposed to be a heist and you have your crew and specialties allegedly. This movie tried to be cool and hip by doing stuff like it, and it totally ruined what I felt like was the strongest point in it, was that it was a mature type of situation. But Pixel, you seem to like the coolness factor to it. What is it about this tiger that was cool to you?
I mean, just visually speaking, it was cool. I don't see what you're trying to nitpick about it.
Well,
Are you
not nitpicking,
your
immersion level in it when they start off pretty serious and all that. And the first time you see a zombie or two, the zombies look fantastic and they look terrifying. And then you get some CGI crap fest looking thing moving around that you go, really?
You know why?
Totally breaks the immersion.
I'll tell you why the tiger was included. Because Siegfried and Roy. Because it's
I know exactly.
If it would have been anywhere else, it would have been a tiger.
It's a funny thing too, but still, come on, really.
And didn't one of them get mauled by the tiger too?
Yep.
So they have in here, we're going to bring a zombie tiger in here, and have him maul another person, the bad guy.
But the bad guy was there. So the heist was basically the cover for his guy to go in and collect the head of the zombie queen. I mean, that's why he was there. He wasn't just thrown in randomly, so that way we have the side.
No, I know why he was there. Yes,
he had a goal.
Yes, he had a goal. Yes, he was there for it. I'm not saying I had a problem with him. I just said the whole tiger thing was dumb. You got what's her name, who had the saw towards the end. Or what was her name? Lily. She was the coyote. Yes. Remember, he locked the gate. The gate locked. Well, they have a saw. Why didn't she just cut through the gate? Why don't you cut through the wall? it's just so many just stupid mistakes in this movie. It just got to the point where it's just like I'm rolling my eyes each time. The first time the German guy screamed was funny. The second time was stupid because it just drawn more people. They should have just killed him after the safe was done.
Yeah, and here's the problem with the first third of the act going into the second half. What I really liked early on was the setup. So you have Vegas pretty much being walled off. They're going to nuke it, low grade. Okay, that's fine. They don't explain that too much, but we accept it. Okay, that's cool. And it looks like the rest of the world may be somewhat okay, but dealing with it, and it's an isolated thing. Okay, that's a little different. That's fine too. And I get dumping on it. But then you get where it looks like there's two types of zombies, the dumb ones and the smart ones, and who knows? I'm going to bring this something. I'll let you guys include this in your comment because I don't know if it's valid for the movie. I don't know Zack Snyder. I don't know his politics, but it seems like there's definitely not so many hidden aspects in what they're trying to do. Here you got smart zombies and dumb ones. So whether you call them the deplorables or the elites, I don't really know. But what I thought was really fascinating was the whole idea of a possible intelligence behind them, what it is, how they set something up. Walking in there, it was almost terrifying when they walk in there for the very first time, and when they sacrificed the one person that they brought in, and it was a good way that they set up this guy basically being a rapist, and shot him as a sacrifice for them, and then they would let them know. That was fantastic. That was very mature. So again, trying to ignore the goofiness that would come later. I thought them sneaking around for the first part of this, where they're really doing the best thing they could to not have any sort of action scenes, was the best part. And I'm thinking specifically, I said, well, we can't be on the streets. We're going to have to cut through, but here's the sacrifice. And then the scene where they're all quiet and they look like they're a mature group and they're taking it seriously. And they're walking through all the zombies that for whatever reason we're told only act a little bit. Okay, that was a little bit of stretching it, but I like the fact that they had the glow sticks and they're making a path through everything. And then we see the one guy basically turn heel and toss it the other way. That was cool too. But after that scene there where he locks the door on everything else there, it became dumb decision making. It became zombies that are just there to do nothing when you've got this great wonderful sub that could have been so much better. And again, Pixel, going back to Bautista's letting this little whiny girl basically get the best of him in that early scene and not laying down the law. Maybe if you'd had some discipline or else she wouldn't be so damn spoiled. It would have been a much more mature show if she went off on her own anyway. He went on and did his, and then somewhere halfway through he realizes, or you know what? It would have been even better if they were told at the beginning, guys, there's $200 million in there. You guys can have it, but I want the head of the alpha. Figure out how to do it. The money's yours. I don't care. They would have went in there with a more serious attitude, more mature, and then you could have seen Bautista's character being stuck in a situation where he couldn't have saved his wife with the flashback we saw. Maybe I can do things right and go with my daughter. We'd all be rooting behind him and his team and all what their specialties are, especially if they died and got sacrificed at the end. We would have then had a human element to it. Instead, we get a bunch of dumb deaths due to dumb decision-making for characters we don't even know or like. It's super predictable, and even though the tiger mauling death was kind of fun to watch, it's cool, and I agree with you, and that's the problem, is it's not supposed to be cool. It's supposed to be horrific and terrifying, and it looked like Zack Snyder was the type of person that shot this in such a way where it could have come across as being really, really good, but he wanted to throw in the cool factor to show how cool and hip he is, and that just is horrible. It's the worst thing, and the whole intelligence thing really didn't get explored at all. The alpha looked great, and the queen was a fantastic looking character, and I felt it less would have been more if they just bothered not showing them that much and everything. And again, no action, a bunch of gunshots, and it just went bad. No, I'm fine. I'm not upset at all.
You're ranting like E now.
This isn't. I don't think this can be classified as a horror movie. It's an action movie. There's no doubt.
Action because that's not true.
Dull.
Yeah, it's dumb.
There are parts I did like though. I did like the part with I think her name is Nataro. She plays Marion Peters. She's a helicopter person. Her having to basically fix a helicopter and stuff was a callback to the Dawn of the Dead.
You're right. We've covered that.
So
that was a good, and that's a good one. If people don't know that, there was a scene in there that had to happen, and I believe we've covered that one. That was the mall one. I think the second one back in '77 or whatever it was. That's a good catch there. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, as many faults as there was in his movies, there was some parts I did like. The part where they walk past the high zombies. That's World War Z.
Okay.
So basically, he had to go through them. That was intense because he never knew what would happen. And it's the first time you see that that Martin is the guy's name. In the movie, but it's Gary Dillon. Everyone knows it was John Dory from Fear the Walking Dead. He screws over Chambers, played by Samantha Wynn. Because she's talking about once you get the money, we're gonna have to talk because you're gonna screw us over. And then just that little part there, he's like, well, screw you, lady. Throws the gold light in a different direction. She goes there. And then we get to see her Chambers as being a badass, just like, as the zombies start waking up, she's killing them, putting them down. Her only mistake was the one that fell onto the silverware, and knocked it over.
Yeah.
My biggest problem was is she fought through all this just for Guzman, Mikey Guzman, the YouTuber boy, to stand there and do nothing. He froze. She was running towards him. He could have went up there and just started shooting him and then pulled her to safety because she hasn't been bitten yet.
But no, she got knocked down
because he stood there,
grabbed by the zombies and pulled back, and
he froze.
She said to go.
Yes, because he froze. He stood there the whole time watching. Even if he fired one bullet,
there were too many zombies.
Oh my gosh, dude! Have you ever watched any other zombie movies before?
Yes, I have.
Where they actually save the person?
What?
Come on.
So the point going back to here, if we take the mature, I want to care about the human aspect, is that she showed us in that moment how she was skilled, how she was a badass. It was not completely over top. It looked very good. The action scenes, like you say, with her stabbing, moving quick, going through stuff. Yes, he froze. Okay, he's human, and he's a YouTuber, so he's not really human. Ha 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 ha. But the point is now that we get a shot of him freezing, even if he couldn't do anything, even if he ran to the door, the door was locked, or a bunch of bodies were there, and he couldn't do it, at least we might have understood the gravity of the situation, and her death would have meant something. Instead of us having a character that we can root for that got killed off, we could have been rooting for him, saying, well, at least he tried. And now he knows as a YouTuber, hey, this shit's real. It's on. It's about to get busy in here. And yes, she died, but I'm going to get on the up and up, because they did show him as a badass with everybody plugging everybody as being a great shot, which we won't even talk about how inaccurate the gun stuff was. So yeah, that totally failed, Pixel. And that's about where it really falls off. And
there's another big problem though with the movie is that the girl they go to the rescue, she's not seen ever again.
Okay, it looks like Eves wants to join us, so I'm going to check him and see if he can, us too. But Pixel, I wanted to ask you, as I try to get Eve from I Love Comics joining us here in a moment when he...
I just sent him a link.
Gotcha.
But no, my thing is that the whole thing with the Gita girl, the one that the one in there they're trying to rescue, they get her in there, but she's in the helicopter and everything, and then you don't see her again. And even when the helicopter crashes, you don't see her at all. Even when they're fighting in the helicopter, you don't see her. So
you see her in the helicopter. You do see her in the helicopter.
You don't. They pretty much
after
goofed it
the
up.
Helicopter crashes.
And what does she say? Yeah, I thought about leaving you, and I came back. Waka.
You see her in that part right there. After that, you don't see her whatsoever. You see her come out. You see the Bautista's there. So it's like the whole entire point is like, she's supposed to like take her and like get back her kids. She must have died in a helicopter. Is all I can think of, because when they're fighting, where she got thrown out.
Well, I will say this, as we're joined by Alien Team from I Love Comics, a frequent collaborator here on the Xtreme Movie Show. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Hey, I'm Peachy King. So what's the score here, by the way?
Okay, so as a brief recap, what we're doing here is not necessarily going scene by scene. We're basically going over initial thoughts, because we have not discussed yet who Zack Snyder is, what he's good at or bad at or whatever. And I don't know the guy, so to me, I think of this as a movie that if it was treated seriously and all that, he had a chance within the third act. We were just talking about the point where the human characters, in RDV's opinion and mine, were really dumb and stupid. I was getting ready to ask Professor Pixel, because he really likes it, and he likes the action, which I haven't commented on yet. I was going to say, you know what, the only time where I felt bad for a character was when the queen zombie lady got beheaded, and really they should be the evil characters rather than the bad ones or the threat. And it's because these humans, we don't care about them all, makes this movie suck. And the zombies are supposed to be there for us to learn how to do it. So we're kind of arguing and debating about some of the scenes that illustrate our points to it. So what are your initial thoughts about the movie?
Okay, with what you're talking about, actually, that was the point where I realized, are we watching I Am Legend? You know, where you find out that this is the new evolution of man and so forth and so on. And then, well, okay, first of all, let me give my overall opinion on this movie, and that is, it is a great, mindless, stupid action film. Not horror, but it's an action film. As soon as you add one drop of thought, and I mean just one single drop of thought, this movie falls apart and becomes a piece of crap. I mean, and I'm like, seriously, the one thought that I had, the complete thing falls apart. Now, here's the thing. I figured it out as soon as the audience does. And the bad part of, I don't want to spoil. Okay, first of all, spoiler alert. I'm going to spoil things. Okay, so I heard you guys talking about, and you just brought up the Queen. If they go out into the zombie land in Vegas, and the first thing that happens is the Queen pops up, and she's like, "Oh, we got to give a sacrifice. Go take him." And she takes the sacrifice away, which we see later in the day. Yeah, I loved it. I loved it. I love the action scenes. I loved getting to the safe. I loved breaking into the safe, and then we get what's his name from Raising Hope and Walking Dead. Fear the Walking Dead. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I actually like him as an actor. I do.
He plays Martin in this one, though. Yes.
Yeah. So we get a side mission between him and the blonde girl, and we find out later. And once again, spoiler heavy here. We find that they're going to behead the Queen. Now, the blonde girl doesn't know that's the plan, but that's what ends up happening. Lily. Okay. So here's the thing. Later, they break into the safe and they're like, "Woohoo! We got the money! We got the money!" And we see John Dory go up into the rafters, and he's like, "Ha ha! We just cared about the head." Then why didn't y'all say so in the first place? Seriously, you said that we saw that there was a whole other team that died chasing after this money when this movie could have been over in 10 freaking minutes had the money guy just said, "Well, we need a head for research purposes. We heard they're super zombies," or something along those lines. They send them in. Queen shows up. We got her all wired up. We cut off her head. We go back. We're having beers by noon. Everybody survives. As soon as he said, "We don't care about the money," I went, "I don't care about this movie anymore." Because if that's the freaking point, if that is the freaking point of the movie, it could have been over a half hour ago.
Well,
or an hour ago, because this is a 2.5 hour long zombie movie.
Yeah, that's.
And how do you get everybody there if they're not there for the money?
You don't need it. Did you?
Well, yeah,
you needed John Dory and the blonde girl. That's all you needed. That's all you needed. And plus, you could pay them if you bring back this. If you bring back this head, I will give you $10 million.
Gary Dillahunt is a real name, but I was calling John Dory because that's everybody knows him as. If Fear the Walking Dead is John Dory.
Well, either one comment I had just made before you came in that I thought if they went in this direction, and this is, I think sometimes we get when we see as many films as you and I have, when we get critical, and we try not to take away points for a movie, whether it's a good movie or a bad movie, that it could have been better. I would have done this, but I said that the disappointing thing to me that really sums this movie up is it started off strong and continued to get weak after they were walking through the zombies asleep. But when they started off, the opening gambit I thought was really strong. It made it look mature and adult-like, and I thought it would have been a great scene when they were with the Asian evil corporate bad guy, because we're back in the 80s. If you'd have said, "Look, I want the head of the Queen," and you're like, "What the fuck?" You go in there and you get that. Oh, by the way, if you've got the time, there's a bonus of $200 million that should be in the vault here. You can have it if you want. All I want is the head of the Queen.
And then all of a sudden,
well, not just that, but the point is if we had two sub stories going on from the time they entered, where when his daughter, who acts like a little baby girl throwing a hissy fit, if she'd went off on her own, And when there's a good reason for her to go off on her own, and then Bautista would have been in a situation to decide, well, do I need to go help my daughter out or not? While everybody's got the head, that would have made it an adult one where we would have cared about these people rather than her throwing a hissy fit, getting her way, and him being a punk bitch the whole movie with this crew that we don't care anything about. And we'll talk about the action here in a moment, but I thought if they had just set up and went that direction with it, this would have been one of the better zombie movies of all time. Because
there's so many
they
elements.
devolved to the cute, silly, nonsense stuff that I don't know if that's what Zack Snyder does, but that was such a letdown and all that. And I don't
there were
think
so many elements that set this up to be one of the great zombie films. I got to tell you this, much like Wolverine Origins, that you saw that movie, X-Men Origins Wolverine, it sucked. But it had this awesome the opening credits are incredible.
Yeah.
And that's the way this movie was. And like I said, I was having a great damn time with this film up until he goes, the head's more important than that money. That vault was filled with freaking money. So, and plus the Japanese guy said, oh, they already insured me, which means they gave him that money back. And that was the whole point. He could double up on it. That was what he was sold on. So you're right. If they had okay, well, we want the queen, but if you want a bonus, there is this money here. And you could, in all honesty, when the queen showed up, they could have had them take the queen's head. But then the daughter who's trying to find her friend ends up being taken as the new queen. You know, you take one of ours, we're going to take one of yours. That's the sacrifice. So they could have set it up like that, where boom, and you'll even have conflict. I know it's your daughter, but it's not my daughter. I want to get back and get paid. I'm a what do you call them? The soldiers of
mercenaries.
Yeah, I'm a merc. Yeah, but then instead of having them at the top of the Olympus, and I get it. Yeah, your Olympus is where the gods are, and this is the god of the zombies. You make sure that where they're keeping the humans before they transform them into super zombies is in the vault or near the vault with the money. So now you've got two elements going at the same place, but unfortunately that one line, we care about the head more than the money, destroyed that freaking film from that point on. I was having such a great time. And then it's like, as each character is dying off, it's like, yeah, but what was the point? This is completely pointless now. It could have been done and finished an hour ago.
Like I said, I did like some of the characters in there. I did like the helicopter pilot. You know,
I did.
Personality. Just not fully explored.
Okay, no. Here's something you guys might not know. She wasn't there. She was reshoots. The thing is
the guy got fired.
The guy who originally was in that role got fired, and they didn't do reshoots where they grabbed everybody and they said, okay, we're going to reshoot it. She was all by herself, and she did every scene all by herself. No one to react to and everything. And I think that was a good performance. I thought, yeah, she had a good personality. She was acting and reacting very well. And when I found out that bit that she was not with anybody, they actually put her in digitally.
Yep.
Good job, Tig, because she's not an actress. She's a comedian.
She's Yep. We also had Omari Hardwick, Vanderholt, the guy with the saw. I love the scene where they're going to break into the vault right there at him and Ludwig, aka Dieter, the German crack saver. They're talking. He's like, what if? And he says like, hey, there's a team here before us. You know, we're not the first ones. And he's like, I love the whole thing. He says, well, what if we're on some elaborate game? We keep dying because look at it. Show that everybody is wearing the same stuff they're wearing. The necklace, that a Cruz had on, the Kill Key thing, and just the scarf that Scott, aka Bautista, was wearing. I thought that was so kind of cool. The trip they threw that in there. I was like, dude, what if this is what if this, the whole like Matrix thing? What if it's like we're just repeating our lives over and over again. Like there's no
They
meaning.
didn't even play on that though, just trolling the audience. They just did.
I know,
did
but
it as a gag.
I still like that though. But like I said,
there's one shot during the final run that Bautista, the YouTuber guy, and Coyote Lily, they're all running through the main lobby, and one shot goes into a zombie, and it looks for a second like half his face is gone, and he has this blue eye, and he looks almost robotic.
Oh, like the Terminator. Yeah. I think it's probably another troll thing in there because I remember seeing it going, oh, that looks like tea. Yeah. Let's talk about the action because Pixel, you brought it up, and I despise a lot of CGI action, and I'm around the time I think you're talking about. There's a scene that pops to mind. I think you see it on some trailers, and it's a scene where they're trying to escape and they're being chased, and he's running, and then the slow motion stuff. Somebody jumps over, and you're shooting him in the air, and he's jumping on all the poker tables in slow mo. So like that. That's garbage. That's a horrible scene. Any of those types of action scenes suck. They're not believable. The green screen part in the back, no matter how good of a print that you see of this in the theaters or if you got on video on demand and all that, it really takes away the immersive nature of having a bunch of people standing there dressed in zombie makeup and outfits, like when they're walking through with the glow sticks and all that. That scene itself was 10 times better than any of the shootouts and action stuff. So I just want to ask the group as a whole, I have no issues with guns. I'm not an anti-gun person, personally speaking, but it's a cheap, easy way of writing stuff that doesn't require any thought. And my whole take on this movie is the guy took the simple, easy way out through us rather than making this interesting. If he had turned this into a Lost kind of movie where it really did happen on a repeat and you didn't know and it was going to be a mind fuck, at least that would have been something. But here with the action, Pixel, please start off by explaining it to me, because I just don't see it as being good action. None of it.
Well, my favorite scenes are the ones with the friend of the YouTuber. Her entire run is fantastic. She holds her own, even through a swarm.
2 seconds to pull up the cast, guys. 2 seconds to pull up the freaking list of the cast.
I'm sorry. I have the list, in fact, but
oh, so you don't even look at it.
It's just a matter of
it just annoys me. You're like
on the right name.
Just say the names, man. They have names.
So Pixel, I'm giving you a platform to justify the action sequences in general.
But
because I don't understand, honestly, why somebody thinks the action in here is good.
I mean, you're talking about one specific run, which I was talking about with the robot eye zombie. But my favorite action scenes are like the ones with whatever her name is. Mm-hmm. I can't find it.
Chambers.
And then Bautista, after Maria gets her head flipped around, he is holding his own right there with about 6 zombies. It's all up close and personal.
There's 3, by the way.
Yeah, that was a good scene with Bautista because that's hand-to-hand stuff, really.
Exactly. The ones that are good, the ones that are good action scenes, there are 3, and they're all the hand-to-hands. The black guy going up against the zombie. He knows he's going to die. He's just going to put up a fight before he does it.
Yep.
Excuse me. The Bautista and yes, the YouTuber girl. The
Chambers.
Otherwise, and I got to say, actually, the tiger going after Raising Hope's dad. The difference, though, is that has choreography. There's something going on there. Oh, and of course, the opening credits. That's got choreography. There's something going on beyond, and this is all the other ones. I'm going to stand here, and you're going to put, and then occasionally I'm going to do this, and you're going to put a freaking computer at the end of my gun, and then they're going to flash over here where we're going to show zombie heads exploding. There's no real action to the gunfights. There's no real action to that kind of thing until Bautista flips over and does a roll or something like that. Because otherwise, it's fun, yes, but. And I got to tell you, I guess the best way I could describe this movie is it's a very beautiful disaster.
You know,
it is
you mentioned something there,
at.
E, and again, I'm going back to my theme of if the guy just said, no, I want the queen, you'd have been like, holy shit, what does he mean by the queen? Oh, it's a smart one. That's why he wanted it. If they had treated this in an adult manner, wouldn't it have been very interesting if, somehow, for some reason, you get the A-team scene where they all equip up, you go in, and then I find out basically none of their stuff works, or they somehow lose it all right at the beginning. You wouldn't be expecting that with a heist operation. They'd have to go more stealth. They'd have to totally change what we thought they were going to go in there to do, their method of attack. And we might have been more interested in each of these individual characters and whatever skill set they would have brought. Because here's the thing I hate. You have a heist movie. And we all like heist movies just because they're cool, kind of cool. Yeah. But the whole point is they're a highly technical, very specialized thing. And the problem is and correct me if I'm wrong, it's been a long time since I've seen the great heist movie Thief with Michael Mann and James Caan in it.
I remember that one.
Caan did that real time on screen as they filmed it. But I thought there was a safe he didn't open. Wouldn't this movie been better off if they just couldn't get the damn safe open?
Or it was
Then what the hell do they do? In other words, change your plan up what the hell's going to happen. That's kind of what made Predator and some other movies pretty good. You go in there knowing it's like a buddy film, an action film, something's going to happen, but then shit hits the fan. What are we going to do with plan B? And how do we adjust?
It was 2.5
do that in
hours.
here.
It was 2.5 hours. They could have said, you know what, let's forget the zombie head because that's suicide.
Well,
Going into the zombie hive, so they go to the safe. They find out either A, they can't open it, or B, when they do open it, it's empty.
It'd be better if it's empty though.
And then they go, well, shit.
The zombie guy's throne.
Yeah, and then they got to go, well, now we have to get that zombie head. But doing the whole thing, we want you to go after the money. Oh, no, we don't give a crap about the money. Then you're a dumbass. You could have gotten it. It was just not, it just wasn't handled very well at all.
The thing I don't like about, I mean, I did like Lily as being the coyote and stuff, you know, as cool. I mean, you know, I hate the fact that she swapped the head out. Like, I'm going to be like, screw you, this guy, you know, I'm going to steal the head. And like, when he locked her out, he should be like, you know what? Guess what? I have your head. You just closed the door on me. You're screwed.
Yeah.
That's where it just irritated me. And at the end, they're like, I'm going to hold that because this guy wants the head, you know, of his queen, you know. I'm thinking, even as a spear.
That, however, in my opinion, was the smartest thing she could have done. You know, that was I actually like that.
In situations, yes, but it shouldn't have led up to that part though.
The more people who died, the more pointless I felt the film was. So when at the end, Bautista got it, and I was like, that was the last one I gave a about. So have a good day, guys.
Like I said, Iron, and I just from the very beginning when they included his daughter, this guy he has no relationship with his daughter, and obviously he's reconciling. He's gonna die. I knew it right away because she's involved. If she wouldn't have came along, he would have survived.
And one of the worst things about that is he literally says, "Can we have a relationship?" She said no. She says, "I'm not there yet." So there was no closure to that. And you could say, well, that's kind of real life. You know, some people don't fall so easy.
That was your conclusion.
But in the end, though, this isn't real life. This is a movie. We expect in 2 hours or 2.5 in this case, certain emotional payoffs. And there was no emotional payoff to the daughter-daddy scene. It did not work the way they wanted it to.
Well, yeah. Where was her at the beginning, at the end of there? There was nothing from her after the crash. Okay, did she go talk to the kids? No, the daughters. No, that were left behind from Gita's kids because Gita obviously bit it. She bit the dust.
She disappeared.
Yeah.
There's a scene in the helicopter where I swear to gosh, she disappeared.
Yeah, as I said, it's a big goof.
Yeah, it was like she was supposed to be in the helicopter, and then the zombie jumps in. You don't see her fall out, but you don't see her in the helicopter. Did you guys think
she was shot in the head? Because that's what I thought.
I didn't. No, that was Tig that got shot.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. When they're flying around the planet, I went, oh, okay. Okay, helicopter is going to land safely no matter what's going to happen. How's this thing going to fail, even though it was supposed to didn't start? It looked like the pilot was shot in the head, but I guess it turned out to just be the shoulder. Maybe this has to do with some of the editing of the character that you mentioned, because I did not know that. But it was just really sloppy that way, and no emotional payoff because we're not emotionally invested in the characters. Why? And it's not because they have to be smart people. And it's not that they have to make smart decisions or it can't be a mature film. It's the fact that it just doesn't make any sense, and it's the cop out, easy way out, which, as we're talking about ending, is something I wanted to bring up. Not knowing Zack Snyder and what he's good or not good at, I did think there was a lot of potential here to be a very good movie, one that you could go back and rewatch. Because at best, this is just a popcorn summer flick that you watch with your brain checked. But I do get insulted where I go, even if it's going to be one of those kind of movies, I want it to at least be fun. This movie was not fun. It tried to be cool. It felt forced. It fell flat. And maybe because I thought there were some good elements in here that they didn't even bother doing, it pissed me off. I don't like a movie that tries to appeal the lowest common denominator and try to check all the boxes, and that's what this movie seemed like it did. But with the ending, I kind of liked how when Bautista died, we saw, hey, there was a survivor, or at least we follow, the black guy, Jigsaw guy or whatever, Stable Saw guy, and we don't know that he's bit until he shows us. But I thought, hey, him in this plane, is he going to go after the big guy and kill him again and make everything right for his team? Is he going to have sex with all these stewardesses on board? Is this going to turn weird and dopey because it's a dopey kind of film? But from what I understand, excuse me, they've decided to make this into a universe where they're going to have like a show about Dieter the least likable, stupidest character of all.
The German.
The German, a German named Dieter. Wow, I've never heard of that.
I thought
wonder
he
how long
died.
He
Zack
did.
Snyder to come up with that name. Wow. No,
Are you
it's
sure
just,
they're doing a show about him? I know they're doing one about Maria.
maybe I'm
prequel
wrong,
show.
but the point is that I thought they were doing 2 shows, and I thought they were supposed to be prequels based on some of
Yeah.
these characters. I'm like, why? We don't effing care about them from this stupid movie.
Mm-mm.
And it's like this could have been a really drawn out 8 to 12 episode thing on Netflix for the same amount of money that they spent, and it would have done a lot better. I think they could have actually made it pretty good. Here, it just, this is what I mean by paint by numbers movie making. Just throw somebody at the helm, throw what might have been an interesting idea or take on it, but don't even explore it at all. And it's insulting that this would be considered a great movie today, especially a great summer blockbuster, because it's not a great movie at all. And there may be an element of people that just have been cooped up so much here in Florida. We're opening up a lot more to go see in a theater, but it's just not that good of a film. I don't hate it. I'm not mad or upset about it. It's not good. I don't like it.
I got a question for you guys. Did you guys see Jimmy Olsen in the very beginning of the movie with the army guys? He plays Sergeant Kelly
No, I
from
didn't.
Batman Superman.
Okay.
And also is and I'm surprised that Pixel didn't recognize him from Resident Alien.
Nah, didn't even.
No,
He
I
didn't
didn't.
even register.
Really?
Yeah.
The handsome doctor, the replacement doctor.
Didn't even register.
He's the
The,
guy that fires a gun. He says like,
I
"Oh,
don't
I'm so
care.
scared." I'm just saying.
Let me say it the way I'm trying to say it. I don't care.
I know you
So-
don't care, but I'm just saying. I'm surprised, shocked that Pixel didn't talk about that or geek out about that because we just did watch Resident Evil not too long ago.
Resident
No.
Alien.
Yeah, right.
I-
I
noticed
got, like
that.
I think I summed it up pretty well for me. I had a lot of fun up until they destroyed it with one freaking line. So what I said before, I'm gonna stick by my guns. This was a lot of fun up to a certain point. It was very well shot. I just had a good time, and then I didn't, and then I just because of that one line, I can't go back and watch it. This is not a rewatchable film. This isn't something I could go, oh, okay, well, this and this and this and this and blah, blah, blah. I'm going to have it because ultimately they're going to get to the point where they're going to say everything we've done up to this moment did not matter.
Yep.
That's not a good way to be to your characters, gang. It's not a good way to be to your audience. And ultimately it ended up weakening the film, not just for the initial watch, but like I said, it has killed all rewatchability.
Like I said, I give it a 2 out of 5 stars. And I said, like, there were parts I liked it, but there's so much stuff was so predictable. Things where they missed, they could have made better. There's a scene there in the casino where they're shooting the zombies. You have Lily, Bautista, and Guzman, and the zombies are coming at them. They missed the blood splash on the camera lens. If you're gonna have a scene like that where he's on a table just firing the guns, just going spraying, there should have been blood spray on the camera lens.
There was a lot of blood sprayed on the camera lens. I noticed it every time they were shooting. There was at least one shot
Wasn't that noticeable?
blood on the camera lens.
Well, E, I know that you never, if I'm correct, watched the original show Twin Peaks, and earlier offline.
I watched first season.
Okay,
of
and that's
Twin
important
Peaks,
to note because we're in the middle, literally, of the second season. This is when, and I mentioned it to RDV and briefly that this is ABC butting their nose and saying you got to reveal who the killer is. David Lynch basically walked off, and it was a small team of writers, and it really pivoted in tonight's episode. And Pixel, who's never seen it, it's the first watch for him, has loved the show up to this point. And so, Pixel, sometimes when you go through a situation like this, like say I did 30 years ago, I cannot tell you how big Twin Peaks was at the time with everybody talking about it. And when they give you an episode like this where they crap on the audience and stop caring about them, you get to that where that happens in films. And so, yes, zombies are the de facto go-to thing for a good 10 plus years now. Doesn't mean you can't use zombies as a vehicle to have some sort of, if you want, political message, social message. This movie didn't try to do any of that blatantly, in my opinion. I could argue to the contrary, but when it doesn't try to do anything and it just slaps a bunch of things together, that's where, as somebody that's watched a lot of films and a lot older, I go, you're wasting my time. And he mentions the particular point was when they made a particular line. I didn't last that long. I, of course, only lasted until right after the guy didn't try to help save the girl. They had a great fight scene walking through there and all that too. So again, we talk about our stances here, why we like something, don't like it. just because that's what we do, and it's pretty extreme. So I find it interesting that, Pixel, you're pretty much the lone defender of this film. So with everything we've had to say about it, you said that you've really enjoyed it. What are your final thoughts?
I mean, I've said everything I've enjoyed. I thought the guy saying we just want the head. It made sense to have a team there because that's for him to get out. They are there to be bait.
If they told them what they were doing, it would have gone off so much more efficiently. The guy even could have said, oh, okay, shot the little ropey thing and said, actually, this is all we cared for. If y'all still want to go for the money, go for it. But I'm going to be taking off because I got the head.
Because at that moment, if they had captured the queen right when they saw her, they would have been swarmed. That call would have gotten to all of them through that opening that they left open in the, through the wall. And it would have been over. Because the zombie tiger had just passed. So you capture her, she's screaming, the tiger comes back, they're all dead.
You're not telling me that two mercs couldn't go run and grab that body where all the other three, shoot off the zombie and they run right through it and boom, they're done? Or you could say, well, shit, we got her. Now how do we get her out of there? And it becomes an extraction film?
No.
So, I disagree there, especially with all the firepower and how close they were to there.
There was some stuff in here that I did like and all, but there's something that was interesting. Because they're highly evolved in there, the fact that the mother, the zombie queen, was actually pregnant.
Yeah,
that's disturbing. The fact that
it was awesome, though, wasn't it?
Evolved.
And then they killed it out, and they didn't even go there, and you understood. And that's why I say the most sympathetic scene was them beheading her because. You don't want to mess with the mother, and now you've got a father with a mother, that doesn't have their child anymore, and the mother's gone. Oh, it's on, baby. And so now you're rooting for the zombies, and you've turned them into the good guys rather than bad guys, and the bad guys are dumb, and you hate them for being dumb, but they're mercs. They don't have to be smart. They just have to be professional and execute. So already you're hating on the humans. And if Zack Snyder was trying to do that, he succeeded, which I think that's a fail in this movie. That's why I didn't like it.
The other thing I like is the gas cans. Are those supposed to be plastic jugs? Because they don't explode like that when you shoot them. They just leak.
Well, cars don't blow up in real life either.
I know.
Every movie with every car.
The only thing that would have been great is you have the guy had grenades. Guzman, I guess his name is Guzman or Guzman, the YouTuber boy. He had the grenade. He threw it on the hallway. He had a whole bunch. That made more sense than just we're just gonna shoot the gasoline tanks on someone's back and maybe hopefully explodes. It's like shooting a propane tank. In the original Dawn of the Dead, not the original, but the remake. They shoot the They don't explode. They have to have a torch strapped to them.
Igniter.
Yeah. I'm like, okay. It would have been more funny. It's like, oh, it works. It would have been great if he shot the tank and it did nothing. Because we're like, what the heck? I'm like, you're an idiot. You're a YouTuber. Shoot me in the head.
Well, as we close up for the night, I'd like to thank everybody for showing up and listening. E, do you have anything coming up this week on any other channels you want to plug?
Actually, I was going to do an actual review of this. I guess I don't need to, but I also want to get caught up with 2021. As far as others, we've got issues tomorrow. On Tuesday, we're doing top 10. On Wednesday, we do covering comics. Thursday, we're doing classic stories, which will be legends from DC Comics. And Friday, we're doing something.
And which channel is this specifically?
I Love Comics.
Not Old Man Comics.
Not Old Man Comics. Old Man Comics, I am getting caught up on. With tomorrow's going to be costumes and cosplayers, where I talk about certain characters' costumes throughout the history and which one's the best and which one's the worst. Tuesday, I'll figure out a top 10 to do when, I'm just doing different kind of videos all throughout the week.
Pixel, got anything you want to plug?
Just his little felt self, I guess. Puppeting. He's going to be doing stuff on his channel Tuesdays and Fridays and next Sunday.
Yep.
Yeah, there's this new person on that does like this puppet thing or whatever. RDV, I think, has been a guest on there a few times. I've seen it in my Twitter stream too, so that's kind of new. RDV, anything you need to plug?
I know that Puppetina and Froggy are going to be doing Castlevania, a Netflix series. So if you're not caught up in that, start watching. they're only 20-minute episodes, and they're awesome animation. There's gore, and it has a plot. You know, unlike this, it's action all the time. Or not really action all the time, but it's just like it's smart. It makes sense. It's logical. It's not peppered with the crap you don't need. You know, and there's no zombie horses. Well, actually, no, take it back. Take it back. There are demon horses, so yeah, that's in there. So I gotta throw it in there. But now I want to watch Puppeteer riding a zombie horse.
Don't we all?
I'm sure there's a picture of that somewhere.
There probably will be soon.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Army of the Dead, Zack Snyder 2021. Thanks to RTV, Professor Pixel, as always, and the team for showing up tonight, giving us their thoughts and their opinions and all that. That's what makes the show extreme, as long as y'all showing up as well, too. So, guys, continue to watch, listen, let everybody know about the show, what's going on. You got any comments, suggestions, let us know. For that, stay extreme. Have a good night.